everyone, welcome back to my Skillshop project series. In today's task 10, we are going to design a fully responsive user profile page using HTML, Tailwind CSS, JavaScript and PHP. In this video, I will explain the complete layout structure, how responsiveness is achieved, how Tailwind classes are used for styling, how dynamic PHP values are inserted, and how the design is structured professionally. So let's get started. Okay, in the user profile.php file, first we have included our header.php file. This means that it keeps our layout consistent across all pages, the navigation bar, Tailwind CSS, meta tags and the scripts. So this is a good practice because it avoids repeating code. Okay, now we will move on to the main page wrapper. So let me break this down. So inside a div, I have given the class min edge screen. So this means it makes the div take at least the full height of the screen and ensures the page always fills the viewport. And then I have the BG gray 50, which makes a very light gray background. This gives a soft dashboard style design and makes the white card stand out. Then I have the padding 12, which adds vertical padding both top and bottom, and then it prevents content from touching screen edges. And then below the main page wrapper, we have the inner container. So inside this div, I have given a class max width 4XL. So this means it limits the width, keeps content centered and makes the layout more clean on large screen. And then I have max auto. So this means it centers it horizontally. And then I have PX4, which means it adds the padding horizontally 4, and then I have SMPX6, so it adds a responsive padding for tablets. This is for small screens, and large PX8, so this means it adds padding for large screens. So this is how we make our spacing more responsive. Okay, now we will move on to the page header section. So inside this, I have given a div class margin bottom 8, and inside that, here I have given a large heading, the font bold and the text gray 900. So it gives a dark color for readability. And then I have added a paragraph having the class text gray 600 and margin top 2. So here we have paragraph saying update your profile information. So this means it adds a lighter color and spacing from the title. So this creates visual hierarchy. Now we will move on to the form wrapper. So inside this, I have given the ID profile form and then the class space YA. So this means it adds vertical spacing between all direct child elements. This prevents clutter and improves readability. Below the form wrapper, I have the avatar section. So this is a card design pattern. Inside that, I have given a div, the class BG white, which adds the card background. Then rounded LG, which means it softens the corners of the card, and then the shadow depth, and then the shadow which adds the depth effect, and the padding 6 which adds internal spacing. And below that div, I have the heading profile picture. Then below that, I have the div with the class flex item center space x6. So this means it gives a horizontal layout. The item center means it adds vertical alignment, and then space x6 means it adds both spacing between the image and the content. And below that I have the profile image. So over here you will be able to include my profile image. I have given the class width 24 and the height 24. It adds a fixed size. Then the rounded full means it gives a perfect circle, and the object cover means it keeps the image more proportional, and the border to border gray 200 means it adds subtle design detail. So over here we have a label for avatar file and the class block margin bottom 2. And then we have added a span. Inside that span we have included choose photo, and then the input type file, the ID avatar file, name avatar file, and accept image, and then class hidden. So this means we will hide the default file input. Instead we style the label like a button. So this means it improves design consistency. Okay, now we will move on to the basic information section. So here we have added a grid layout with the class grid calls 1 for mobiles, SM grid calls 2 for tablet and above. So this is how responsiveness works. And inside this grid layout we have the first name, the last name, and the email. So here commonly we have added the class width full, which adds full width, px4 and py2, which adds internal spacing both horizontally and vertically, and then the border gray 300, which adds subtle border, and the rounded large LG means that it adds a modern look, and the focus ring 2, which adds blue glow effect when you click on it, the focus ring blue 500, and then I have the focus border transparent, which adds clean focus state, and then the transition over here, which adds smooth animation. This creates a professional input design. Also in the email section I have required read only. So this means that the email cannot be edited, but it's styled the same for visual consistency. So now we will move on to the profile information section. So this is below the basic information section. Here we have reused the same card that was used before, and this means it adds consistency, which is important for the design. So here we have the text area, name bio, ID bio, rows 4. So this means it's for the height. The placeholder tell us about yourself, and then we have used the same input styling, and this means it keeps the design more consistent. And inside that we have the paragraph, class text SM text gray 500, margin bottom 1. So this here we have added a smaller lighter instructional text. Now we have the gender select drop down. So this means it's styled same as the input and it maintains visual consistency. And here we have the selected option logic, which will be explained in the next video. And below that we have the mobile number, which uses regular expression 0 to 9 and then 10, which means that 0 to 9 digits only and exactly 10 digits. So this is a client side validation. I will also explain this in the next video. Below this we have newly added address information section. So this also uses a separate card, and it also uses the same card pattern that was reused. And below that, first we have the addresses line, the line 1, the line 2. So here we have the same class over here. So this adds the full width inputs. Below the two address lines we have country and city. So these uses responsive grids again, grid column 1, SM grid calls 2, and gap 6. So here we have the dynamic options that is from the database. These both have them, which will be explained in the next video. And below these we have the form action, which has the div class flex gap for justify end. So this means it adds horizontally spacing and aligns it right. And below that we have the two buttons, the cancel and the save changes button. So first, this cancel button is actually a link. So this is a subtle secondary button which has the border gray 300, rounded large, text gray 700, hover BG gray 50, and transition colors. And below that we have the save changes. Here we have used PX6, PY2, both horizontally and vertically padding is added, the border, then the background blue 600, hover BG background blue 700, then the text is white and it also has rounded corners, then the transition colors. So this page is responsive because it has max width for Excel, which limits the width, the grid columns which adjust the layout, the responsive padding both vertically and horizontally, the flexible inputs with full, no fixed widths. This means it adds clean stack layout, 2-column layout, and centered card layout for all the devices, mobile, tablet, desktop, etc. So as you can see, this is my profile design that I have over here. Here I have the profile picture section, the basic information section, which has the first name, the last name, the email address. Then I have the profile information, which have the bio, the gender, and the mobile number. And below that we have the address information, which has the address line 1 and the line 2, and side by side we have the country and the city, and below all that we have the cancel and the save changes button. In this video we designed a modern user profile page, fully responsive layout, clean card based user interface, dynamic PHP integration, proper input styling, professional dashboard design. So this completes the task 10 of the Skillshop project. So in the next video we will connect this form with backend update functionality. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.